Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. I just want to talk about a little of the discord and the stuff that's surrounding Candace Owens and the threat that is on her life per what she says. And I want to go over a couple things that she also posted on Instagram today. Now, please forgive me because I'm not feeling very well today. I've actually got lightheaded, dizzy, nauseated feeling. But the people that have been here with me for over 4 years, you know that I was born with an egregious physical disability, and it's a genetic inherited connective tissue disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I have type 1 and type 2. I have a very severe form of it. All my joints literally dislocate out of socket anytime I move. My shoulders, elbows, knees, my hips, my back, my spine, my neck, all of it. Now, it's very hard to not only cope with and to deal with the chronic pain every day. I am also a cancer survivor. I had stage 2/stage 3 cervical cancer over 5 years ago. I hit the 5-year remission mark now. From the ages of 32, 33, 34, I had a radical hysterectomy, a total pelvic lymphodectomy. I had a part of my vagina removed where they created a vaginal cuff and a permanent stitch inside. And it was stage 2/stage 3 in width and depth. I was very lucky to be on medicine for 2 years. I did not have to do chemotherapy or radiation, but I have been dealing with the residual negative effects of having had cancer. And that's just part of it. I also have, I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia 16 years ago. I also have neuropathy. I've had multiple different surgeries, including a mid-urethral pelvic mesh sling done. I just recently had 2 more surgeries in July and August of 2025, where I had to have a nerve stimulator placed in my spine, and the battery goes into the fat of the butt. And so I've had a lot of health issues due to that, but I've also talked out openly a lot about that. And I wasn't at a place where I could do that before. And when I started talking about disability and chronic pain and different diagnoses that I have, people that are like me started, of course, commenting on my content. And that's how I started over 4 years ago, really just opening up and talking about the things that I experience and I go through. Now, obviously, being a mother, that was the scariest time of my life because my children were all present when I was told that it, yes, is in fact cancer. And the 3 surgeries that I had prior to the radical hysterectomy and all that, it was one of the most painful surgeries. It felt like somebody chainsawed me right in half, right at the abdomen, because I had been cut from hip to hip, straight incision, to have that done. So when I speak about things regarding my civil constitutional rights to my own free speech, to my own thoughts, feelings, expressions, opinions, emotions, my critiques and my criticism, I'm within my right to do so. Like I said, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, all those people are within their right. But my whole thing is just recognizing that Candace Owens, she psychologically uses manipulation because ultimately her job is to sell something to an audience, to package it and sell it to an audience. That is ultimately what she does, period, point blank. And she uses the psychological manipulation to get from point A to point B. And point B is that she's making money, right? I don't think it's really about the substance of the content. But of course, it's a big deal when you start bringing up not just conspiracy theories. You're bringing up real people that were truly, assassinated by somebody, real entities, governments, a real race of people. Conspiracy theories are fun. They're fun to deep dive and all of that. But when it starts crossing that line or really blurring that line into real people are now receiving death threats. I've had a lot of military bots that are pro Candace, and I've looked at them in my comment section. They are getting paid to purposely go on anti-Candace content. And I'm not anti-Candace, though. I really liked her and everything, even though I believe that she has all the signs of a sociopath or a narcissist. A cluster B personality disorder, a simple brain scan could get her a true diagnosis, but that's not my business. But that is my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion, like it or not. But these military type of bots that are going under these videos that are not favorable to Candace Owens are hilarious, because you go and look, there's no real name, there's no real picture, there's no reshares, there's no actual content. They've been made either 2 months ago or 4 months ago, meaning suggesting that they're not real people. And I think that that's really funny. But first, I want to share this. This user said on X, I finally read the full complaint against Candace Owens. Fascinating stuff. I have linked that time and time again in comments, in the description box, in the community posts. I have even listed the one where she had filed for a dismissal. I have linked that for people to be able to go read. And if you don't read it, well then, being dumb, being blind, just being ignorant is not an excusable defense. That's all I'm saying. And you guys can enjoy whatever content you want, but if you think that the content you consume is not going to affect other people in real life, or even you in real life, you are sorely mistaken. And that's exactly why I have read so much from the Bible. That's why I have read passages. That's why I said, even if people believe, or I believe, that she is undeserving, that narcissists and sociopaths are undeserving, that people that treat other people that way, or are committing the sin of greed, all for monetary gain, all for money, or that they are slandering and defaming, libeling a deceased man, and the very foundation of the truth. The truth is what happened. It's not what you wanted to happen. It's not what you think sounds good because you like conspiracies. That's, first of all, bias, but it's just what truly happened. And as of right now, what we know for a fact, and everybody keeps bringing up the FBI didn't bring charges against Tyler James Robinson. Utah law enforcement did. I have gone over the indictment time and time and time again. The federal agents only helped give their supports and resources to Utah law enforcement. They're not the ones in charge of the investigation. They're not the one who brought the charges. So everybody bringing up the FBI, and it's like, well, how much of a role does the FBI really have to play other than supporting Utah law enforcement in the active investigation and to bring those charges against the perpetrator who truly did what he did? And of course, there's all these people that recorded it that day. One bullet, one shot. That's all that happened that day. We saw what happened to Charlie Kirk. We saw different pieces of footage. Are we seeing all of the evidence? Absolutely not. That's being preserved for a jury to deliberate, to see, and to deliberate on. I'm not a juror. Candace Owens isn't a juror. You're not selected to be on the jury. But that's a part of Tyler James Robinson's due process rights. And the truth will come out. And especially if he is, by some chance, given a plea deal where he enters a plea deal and he admits his guilt. He admits that he is the sole perpetrator, that he did this all because of his own words. Charlie spread too much hate, according to him, in the indictment, from what we know right now, truthfully. Everything else is not factually or truthfully what we know happened as of right now. Everything else is just propaganda and conspiracy, or just straight up lies, and they're not related at all to the act of ending Charlie Kirk's life and the person responsible for making that action of taking Charlie Kirk's life. So I think, it's not that I believe the government. It's not that I believe the FBI or that I believe Utah law enforcement. In fact, Candace Owens was warned multiple times to look into not only the sheriff, but to look into a governor as well. And she refuses to do it. Why? Because that would be straight up defamation if she was to go and dig into these people in Utah and start saying all this stuff about them in particular. She can lead you to believe what she wants you to conclude. But again, that's psychological manipulation to try and lure people into believing what you want them to believe. That's not based on truth. That's based on you are gaslighting and manipulating people to try to come at the conclusion that you want them to come to. And simultaneously doing another thing while she's doing that is making everybody believe that you psychologically have to pick between her, the truth, the light. No, that right there is blasphemy. Jesus Christ is the only person that is the truth, not Candace Owens. And that just goes against the very foundation of the Holy Bible, of the word of Jesus, as I've shared in my last video. What he has explicitly said about truth, what he has explicitly said about not believing conspiracy theories, about not believing people that come to you as good shepherds, but are inside ravenous wolves who only care about making money. So continuing on from that, this user says, the complaint against Candace Owens is far more serious than people realize. It lays out a methodical, well-documented pattern showing that Owens did not just repeat fringe rumors. She packaged them for an audience. She monetized them, and she built an entire revenue engine on claims that Macrons insist are provably false by detailing all of the podcasts, the subscription funnels for her website, merchandise pushes, her continued promotion of the story after multiple legal warnings, and even being sent evidence. Yet she didn't present that evidence. She only presented that she sent them 20 questions and that they refused to answer those questions. She conveniently left out that the Macrons allegedly sent her photographs, medical evidence, etc., whatever it was, to prove that Brigitte is in fact a born female. So she also had her continued promotion of the story after multiple legal warnings, the filing positions Owens not as a commentator, but as a creator of a deliberate, profit-driven disinformation, misinformation campaign. That distinction is devastating because it moves the case out of the realm of protected opinion and into clear, factual, defamatory territory where the First Amendment offers her far less shelter, because you know that what you're pushing is based on conspiracy and you're hiding behind free speech. That's the thing about the First Amendment. Free speech doesn't cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel. It doesn't cover threats. It doesn't cover fabrications or conspiracy theories that are unfounded and untrue. It covers the truth, your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your critiques, your criticisms, but not purposely harming somebody else's reputation for monetary gain. In fact, that's a pretty big motive. The monetary gain is a pretty big motive and incentive to commit that kind of defamation, slander, or libel and hide behind free speech. We've seen Amber Heard try to do the same exact thing, but you don't get to hide behind your civil, constitutional, basic human rights and infringing on somebody else's basic human rights, civil or constitutional rights, their legal rights, and get to say, oh, well, I have the right to free speech. I can do whatever I want, but nobody else can. And not only can you not do what you want, the same thing as her, which is fucking hypocritical, but that you're going to suffer some kind of harm. You're going to now get death threats. You're now going to get slandered, defamed, libeled, doxxed, if you even so much speak up about Candace Owens. And that's funny because I've received since yesterday on 2 of my videos just detailing some of the things that she has said in her own content, caught in her own inconsistencies and all of that. I have detailed 3 different people that have, and they're bots. They are bots in my comment section trying to insinuate either a threat towards me or a death threat. And I think that that's really interesting. That is really interesting deflection that she suddenly has this threat against her life. So at the bottom here, it says, legally, this puts the Macrons in a strong position as public figures. They must prove actual malice. Yeah. The fact that she keeps mentioning things like, oh, I don't care about your penis. I don't care about your wife's penis. Her attitude towards it. They're going to have a lot of clips from her own content to kind of prove that she might have acted with malice. But she has an incentive and a motive to keep driving those conspiracy theories or, this investigation that Xavier Poussard did, not her, for monetary gain. So this post goes on, but the complaint is crafted to show exactly that. Owens was told that her claims were false. She knew the allegations had been debunked, proven wrong, and she escalated them for profit for herself anyway. We watched it. Courts consistently treat monetized conspiracy content harshly, especially when it involves accusations of identity fraud, falsified documents, fabricated personal history. The more evidence of revenue tied to the claims, the higher the potential for punitive damages. In short, if even a fraction of what the complaint alleges is upheld in discovery, Owens could face not only major financial hit, but the same kind of legal precedent that ultimately crushed Alex Jones. Yeah. Think about that. Now, this is funny because I didn't even know who Milk Bar TV podcast was on YouTube until Candace Owens mentioned them and mentioned purposely giving them a copyright strike. Even though he may have paid for that membership and paid for that book club membership, which is almost $30 a month for both her website and for her book club at $9.99 and $18.99. So I think that's funny. A month later, she literally tries to misrepresent that same exact little clip that he took as Christian Zionists are on a paid smear campaign against her. Well, that's funny because, like I said, everybody knows that I have conservative views in one side and I have liberal views on, a few other things. I don't align with Republicans or Democrats. You do know that there are a lot of other political parties that probably actually align with your morals, your values, and your beliefs other than the Republican or the Democratic Party, right? There's lots of them. California alone has lots of independent political parties, but they don't get the funding. They don't get the marketing and everything to promote their agendas or their 4-year plans or anything like that the same way that the Republican and the Democratic Party do. Now, it's what it means as far as politics, as far as America, as far as Hollywood, as far as the banking syndicates of the world, as far as the global powers that be. They're all corrupt. Of course, they're all corrupt. But you can't there's a difference between knowing that it's corrupt and everything is based on bloodlines, inheriting that corruption and continuing that corruption to own over everything else. I mean, that's exactly what war is. All the poor men die in battle, but you never see the rich men really being at risk in war, right? But of course, this goes back, past their crusades, all of that. But it's really attributed to the modern message, the modern sentiment that the final judgment is up to God. It's not to be taken literally, okay, in a modern context. So people that say that are, how do you make America great again? Well, you got to X them all and let God sort them out, meaning that all of the corruption, all of the people that run the world, that's the only way that you would be able to have a fair democracy and a fair government, is to get rid of all the dirty politicians, get rid of all of the dirty music industry and film industry, Hollywood, and to get rid of all of the people that own and control it, right? Because it would be up to God to sort them out. That's just what that means. So when I think about politics, that's the first thing that always comes to my mind is that phrase. And why? Because I don't believe in either side. Because I have seen the worst corruption and the dirtiest shit happen on both Republican and Democratic sides. And I've never considered myself to be political, but I align with a different party. And that's all I can say. But now that Candace has given Milk Bar TV, this copyright strike, well, it has to be for a reason, right? It couldn't be that he possibly paid, to have that subscription. No, she didn't want anybody to see the video of her secretly saying to her book club that she blames Donald Trump, Israel, the FBI with Donald Trump and Israel, of assassinating Charlie Kirk and then giving him a boulevard. Yeah, because she did. She did say that. And that's why she has copyright struck anybody that has that little clip, even if it's under fair use and under the copyright law, to do reaction, commentary, education, teaching, etc., etc. She doesn't want anybody to have that. Candace is a well-oiled propaganda machine at this point. And if people don't see it, you don't see it. But one day, mark my words, one day you will see it. Because it will come out when you have those kinds of intentions. It's not the intent of truth, because truth is what truth is. Not what Candace Owens wants to twist it to make you believe that it was or that it is. That right there is my biggest problem, and why I stopped watching her content, and I stopped being a fan of hers and stopped listening to her. Even Megyn Kelly admits that she doesn't watch Candace Owens and her show, which is funny, right? But conservatives, they all want to, I guess, stick together. Conservative podcasters that have been fired by mainstream and all went to YouTube to have their own show, their own website. Yeah. A big circle jerk, a big human centipede. But listen to this.
So what kind of journalism? This person writes, God bless you, please be careful. Joan Rivers got killed for exposing Michelle Obama, the Hollywood secret. I appreciate that. I also know that if they want to kill you, they will. I mean, that's the truth, and that's a sad thing to say, but at least you'll know who did it. It was the Frankists. I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. In a full year of plots against my family, and we have been in just warrior mode for so long, and I just can't even, they just won't even just let me enjoy an end of pregnancy. They're like, no, what else can we get? What else can we find? And like I said, her piece matched too much the most recent Zionist attack. There is a figurative bounty on my head. Apparently influencers making up to $1,000 to make anti-Candace and anti-Tucker Carlson videos. The people have given us names and said, this is the marketing campaign that's paying for this, or this is the organization foundation that offered me money for this. But you have to present concrete proof. Like, I obviously am aware that the campaign is happening.
She never shows proof, but you have to prove to her proof.
So you have to submit the email that you received or the text message that you received to make a video about Candace Owens. I just want to know who specifically is behind it, so we can out that person. $10K is now the bounty for that information. Send it to tips@CandaceOwens.com. Emmanuel Macron is holding up negotiations to end the Russian and Ukrainian war, unless you stop speaking about his wife. But obviously, I don't want to have on my conscience that less Christian men.
His wife. She said right there, his wife. I mean, she's referred to Brigitte Macron as a she, a her, multiple times.
Died in the East.
And that's also another thing, because she wants to tell you that science is a conspiracy theory, that science doesn't exist, science isn't real, the earth is flat, dinosaurs aren't real, and they don't exist. That's really funny. That's really funny, because she uses the science of biology to tell you there's only male and female, but if science doesn't exist, then you can't rely on the science of human anatomy to be able to therefore conclude that there's only two genders, right?
If I just shut up about something, I kind of go back in my mind to that conversation, and I find myself wondering whether or not Trump was being directed by somebody to give me a call, and whether he was being honest with me, if it was really coming from him, if it was coming from higher up. You know, my general perspective is that we live in a nation that is governed by the military, so I don't necessarily believe that Trump.
I thought we were governed by Israel and Zionists.
I can't see them wanting to make it to Discovery.
I thought Trump was
I think they'll fake kill Brigitte first, but they'll be like, "Oh, Brigitte passed away from stress because of what Candace did. Oh, nobody can talk about her being a man anymore because Brigitte's gone. You know, this is terrible." The French press is reporting that Annie Trogneau died on July 3rd, and then was buried on the 15th in Amiens, and that Anne-Marie's daughter Christine died on July 19th, and then was buried on the 25th. So that was 2 days after my lawsuit. Anyways, take from that what you will. We're still investigating. Things are happening. Strange events are happening. It could be nothing. Who knows? It, of course, is interesting because, you know, had those two individuals have been alive, we may have liked to subpoena them, get a statement. I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now. Don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair, okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged. They would rather protect Brigitte, even though the whole world no longer believes that Brigitte Macron was born a female, right? But they would rather risk the entire thing coming undone than to just say, okay, maybe we took it too far. Let's get Macron out of office and put somebody else in there that we can control. That's funny, because she's never admitted that she's ever taken it too far, right? Or that she's ever done any of those things, which is strange. So she had a really big, this is what she said on X, when everything is said and done and the public learns that Macron allegedly, if you use the word allegedly, she doesn't have evidence or proof, allegedly moved $1.5 million for my assassination. How will the world respond? I have informed people in the federal government in the White House of the France and Israeli assassination plot, and I am willing to provide full details as well as the name of the assassins and international accounts in France and Canada through which money was exchanged. Beyond that, I have shared more information with the public regarding the Brigitte story that I was investigating at the time of Charlie's assassination. I know she was done with it because she ended it with the real person who did the investigation actually talking to him, and how he did his investigation for 9+ years at that point of actually coming to the conclusion that Brigitte Macron is not Brigitte Trogneau, that it's Jean-Michel Trogneau taking his little sister's identity. Now, she continues on beyond that. I have shared more information with the public regarding the Brigitte story I was investigating at the time of Charlie's assassination. This will all be available on my Instagram stories because you can see who's watching it there. Thank you all for reaching out and for praying for my family. But cops and the feds and CIA, they're all dirty. They're all lying. They're all corrupt. Yet I wouldn't be surprised if she's hiring off-duty law enforcement officials to be her security. Oh, wait, she didn't get any security at all? Well, that's shocking considering you just said that there's a global assassination plot. Allegedly. She said the word allegedly, meaning she has no proof, right? So she posts a whole series of things on her Instagram stories, okay? Now starting with this because Candace Owens loves to talk. Because I am certain that the French Foreign Legionnaires, a military unit made up of multiple nations, FYI, were involved in Charlie's assassination, I feel that it is urgent that I share the following information with the public. How are you tying the French to Tyler James Robinson? That's what I want to know. We'll start with a question. What is it about Brigitte Macron that required Charlie Kirk, followed by Sergio Gore and then President Donald Trump, to personally call me and ask me not to further investigate her? At that time, it seemed absurd. Funny almost. Sergio Gore was pretty fired up about it, but why? Why is the story of a man cross-dressing as a first lady in France apparently the biggest state secret of all? ? I am now putting those pieces together in retrospect. As most of you are aware, we had been investigating the plausibility that while living as a man, Brigitte was involved in MKUltra experimentation here in the United States during his missing years in the military. We were further confused by Brigitte's family origin story. The story told to the public, for those who don't know, is that Brigitte Trogneau hails from a family of generational chocolatiers from Amiens, a bakery that has been running since the 1880s. We received a tip that story was impossible. The person claimed and presented solid historical evidence that Amiens came under heavy bombardment during World War II, that the Nazis had occupied Amiens, and that the original chocolatiers could not have kept their doors open selling macaroons during that time. Sorry, look at this. Look at all of that ranting. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So she continues on. We then came across documentation which revealed that after World War II, a family in Bamberg, Germany, with the latest name Trogneau, was transported to Amiens as refugees. René Trogneau was the name of one of those individuals. Might not be related at all. And she doesn't show any proof other
then there's somebody else out there in the world with the last name Trogneau. Well, it's not that common of a French last name. I know I come from a French family. Our last name was Lemieux. And my great-grandfather changed it to Lemire because coming from, France to Canada, Rouen to Canada, Montreal, Quebec, and from there to Upper Peninsula of Michigan, all the way down to Detroit area during the car boom, people that spoke English couldn't say it. Mieux. They couldn't say it. So they changed it to Lemire, which means of or the mother. Which isn't even a real French surname, but they changed it. It kind of made it more easy for English speakers to say. So, unless she actually shows proof that Renee Trogneau is actually tied to that Trogneau family of Amiens, it's ridiculous. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. It's just enough to try to keep you convinced or hooked that there's something there. I had begun to wonder if it was possible that actually Brigitte's lineage was German. I don't know. Why don't you just get the DNA? Why don't they just get the DNA? I'm sure she's already come forward, and Emmanuel Macron has already come forward and has already said that they're giving evidence, medical evidence, documentation, etc. to the court. So is DNA one of them? I don't know. Might be. I began to wonder if it was possible that Brigitte's lineage was German. As we know, as Americans, after World War II, I know because my great uncle Francis died in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge. And then in 1952, my grandfather's other brother, Clifford, a first-class sergeant with the Army, died at the battle at Baldy Ridge in Korea. So, yeah, we know about World War II. Most of us have family that were lost there. After World War II, the CIA began Operation Paperclip, where they gave new identifications to Nazi scientists and inserted them into our government. Therefore, it was at the very least a compelling theory that Brigitte's family could have been actual Nazi scientists. And that was the big state secret worth protecting. Again. You're fucking kidding me. Fucking, oh my god. She's so joking. Again, this was in early August and I had no way confirmed this. It was just a theory. Again, this was in early August and I had no way confirmed this. It was just a theory that I was working on researching and open to being debunked on. My main questions were, what happened to Renee Shrug? I can't. Okay. Serious face. What happened to Renee Trogneau of Amiens? Who was Renee Trogneau in Bamberg, Germany, and what did he do? Can we prove that Renee is related to Brigitte? It is all the more compelling, of course, that this would combine the MK Ultra Stanford University angle that we had been prodding. And don't forget, in Brigitte's lawsuit against me, she has mentioned MK Ultra a jaw-dropping 18 times. I wonder why, Candace. That's because you have mentioned it in your content. And maybe that's what they're suing you over. So therefore, you're kind of insinuating things with MK Ultra and Sigmund Freud and psychological manipulation, because of course that's not what you're doing, right? The best way to deflect is to accuse everybody else of doing it. It's like saying, don't look over here, look over there. Don't look at my psychological manipulation of you. Look at what they're doing. Doesn't prove she's not doing it. It was a shocking overreaction to me having merely mentioned, the lawsuit was a shocking overreaction. If Brigitte Macron really is Brigitte Trogneau, then you're cooked. You're literally cooked. But of course, if Xavier Poussard is right, and he did his due diligence for 9 years and did a thorough investigation, and a sitting president of a foreign nation of the Republic of France and his so-called wife met at age 14 and 39, yes, that's pedophilia. Yes, it's inappropriate. Yes, it could be incestuous. We don't know. Make them get over the DNA. That should be the first thing in the lawsuit. Discovery. They should be willing to provide DNA, right? It's not even about the issue of whatever gender or identity. It's the lying about it to the constituents of France. No president or first lady should be lying to anybody, right? None of their constituents. So she goes on, it was shocking overreaction to me, having merely mentioned that her alleged birthday also happens to be the day that the MK Ultra program was born. Yeah, because she's implying and insinuating. So of course they put that in the lawsuit. Of course they're going to mention in the lawsuit, they have to detail that. For those of you who do not know, the precursor to MK Ultra was a Nazi program known as Project Monarch. To this day, our government, which loves condemning everyone as Nazis, scrambles and lies to protect and hide the fact that this Nazi program existed. Why? Did we bring its authors over during Operation Paperclip? Of note, Project Monarch was a government program she says programmed. It's a government program which abused children. There's a typo there. As those of you who are in my book club know, per author Jeffrey Mason, who was the assistant director to Sigmund Freud's archives and was slated to be the next director. Sigmund Freud and his abusive associates in Vienna, Berlin, and Paris had acknowledged that this trauma was a way to manufacture and control a future psychopath. I will spare you the details, but suffice it to say that parents were intentionally harming their own children, and it was happening a lot across Vienna and Paris in particular. This is a part of history that has been intentionally buried. I strongly advise everyone to read The Assault on Truth for further context. She's really obsessed with chaos and The Assault on Truth. It's like the only, like, she's had this book club, and it's always like those two books. Like Oprah had a book club, and she would go through a book a week. Or 2 books a week. She'd go through a dozen of them in a month. Back to our Brigitte narrative. After raising this interesting point regarding Brigitte's family chocolate business publicly, I then received another tip of note. Okay, the precursor to the IRGUN, which itself was a precursor of the Mossad. I have information about this. As you know, Brigitte Macron was allegedly born Brigitte Marie Claude Trogneau in Amiens, France. The family is the owners of the 5-generation chocolatier Trogneau. Now that you rightfully asked, the factory Trogneau was a huge chocolate factory. How come it survived? Well, I can tell you, it was a little thing called Judenrot. The story was huge in Israel. They never could keep it. You leaked back in this person who's sending her tips don't even know how to type. So I don't know why she's giving this any credibility. Because, I mean, there's so many typos just in the first sentence. It's like a kid wrote it. Trying to fuck with her. I don't know. You leaked it back in the 50s that people were involved there. Google that. Trust me, bro. Just go Google it. I'm telling you the truth. Because Google told me. Yeah, they're all using Google and AI. Whatever. Talking about the Rothschild banking syndicate of the world, of course, which is linked to the Macrons. Because Emmanuel worked at the bank before becoming the first ever youngest chief of staff before he became the president of the Republic of France. Blah, blah, blah. This is all verifiable. Long story short. Just go verify it on Google, yo. Dude, bruh. Like, I'm telling you the truth, bruh. Go Google it, bruh. It's all verifiable, bruh. That's called confirmation bias, and that's a huge problem. Huge problem. Long story short, they got them immunity first, and later Mossad, other people. They used Brigitte as a way to spy on the French president. Just Google Mirage and Israeli planes during boycott, during Charles de Gaulle, just before 1967 war. Then check how Mossad agents got the plans for these jet fighters. I would like to be clear again that I have not confirmed that tip, but Brigitte having a connection to Israel somehow would make sense given the protection he is afforded and the extraordinary lengths taken to guard something so obvious like her true gender. They seem willing to kill over this secret. Well, they're suing you for like millions of dollars. That's pretty big because they've won a lot of lawsuits. Didn't they just recently win another lawsuit where 10 people can ultimately possibly face up to 2 years prison each? I have not read about that one, though, in detail, the one in France or wherever. They seem willing to kill over this secret, which signifies to me that her true lineage is from a powerful family. Israel is the only nation that I feel has the pull to demand that Trump call me. It is also the nation that could have Sergio Gore call me and Charlie Kirk. What I am utterly confounded by is that the unnecessary deceit. If Trump had simply called me, she means she has written has simply called me. She means had simply called me and said that Brigitte is a state asset and we need you to protect the information at this time as a matter of national security, I would have done it. Instead, I was told that the Macron's feelings were hurt and that he didn't want to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war because his wife was upset. I guess governments are so accustomed to dealing in deceit and lies and death that the option of just asking someone to do something and being honest with them as to why just never even crosses their mind. The government factory setting seems to be demand, control, gaslight, and kill. Anyway, I wanted to share all this information publicly because with the French and Israeli assassination information, which I shared with the federal government today, I am realizing that the story of Brigitte Macron, which I stumbled upon quite innocently, is about a lot more than a trans woman who groomed Emmanuel Macron. And I wonder if things could have been different if Charlie had shared with the public who exactly he thought was going to kill him in the 24 hours leading up to his death. He expressed this to multiple people in his inner circle, but he didn't inform the public. I wish so badly he had told me directly. And that's how it is. Reverend Jordan Wells says she burned Charlie Kirk's entire legacy down after 13 years of hard work just to get there. Favorite trend ever, number one worldwide, but she quickly went down to number 6 because it changes rapidly and all the time. Who's the number one podcast? But crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. It seems like a big deflection away from the fact that the French president and his wife are suing Candace Owens. That has always been made public. Now they have even more fodder. Candace Owens, she shared it with the federal government, this alleged assassination plot. Alleged, she says. Allegedly $1.5 million. Okay, that right there proves that she doesn't have any verification because she would be able to say confirmed that this happened. She wouldn't have to put allegedly in there. All content creators know that tactic. Now, secondly, Candace Owens would have had to share it with the FBI because people took it upon themselves to report it to the FBI. And to not only like what I did, to actually tag the FBI, their local branch office in Tennessee, Kash Patel, the President of the United States, and Emmanuel Macron. They all know that everybody's aware of what Candace Owens has claimed and said. Now, if it proves to be untrue and she doesn't have verified actual evidence and proof to back this up, it could be very bad for her in court because now President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte Macron, well, Candace is cooked because there's nothing worse than defaming somebody by lying and saying that they paid $1.5 million to have you assassinated. I mean, from what we know right now, Tyler James Robinson did it absolutely for free, all on his own accord for Charlie Kirk, just because he didn't like the guy. He didn't like his content. Thought he spread too much hate, according to the indictment. Anybody wants to challenge me on that, I have all 10 pages. I've shared it. I've posted it on my community post. You can go back and reread it yourself. And that's what we know. That is what we factually know as of right here, right now. But I'm really not feeling that well today. I'm going to go lay down. I have to go take some anti-nausea medicine that I am prescribed because I'm just not really feeling that well today, right now. Headache, nausea, all of it. But I just want to go over what Candace Owens said because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. She's just more circle jerks. And that's it. That's all I have for right now. I love you guys. I pray for you all. Even pray for Candace Owens, as much of a nut job as she might be. And she knows what she's doing. She's aware of what she's doing. She's doing it intentionally and purposely. to keep you guys hooked, psychologically hooked. That's how they manipulate you. In the operation of using social media and podcasts and YouTube channels and Instagram and Facebook and X and TikTok to socially and psychologically manipulate people, that's definitely real. That is definitely real. And they're doing it not just for monetary gain, but they're doing experiments, social, psychological experiments on you guys. And you don't even know it. You don't even know it. But mark my words, in the next 15 years or so, you will be told. You will actually learn the truth about right now, this time, especially with the disinformation, the misinformation, the propaganda, social media war that's happening. And you guys are gonna find out really who's behind it and why. You're going to find out a lot more in the next 15 years or so, 20 years or so, about these wars that are constantly happening and why so many people have to die. For rich men to stay rich, for the powerful to stay powerful, for the elite bloodlines of the world to stay the elite bloodlines of the world, for millionaires to stay millionaires. And yeah, there's levels to that. There's billionaires, millionaires, and Candace Owens is one of them. So her and her husband. But that's all I have right now. I pray for you all. I love you all. I hope you all have a great Monday. I hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving week. And I really hope that you guys enjoy Thanksgiving. I will see you all on the flip side.